what's up? Welcome back to another planty video. My name is Shannon and this is Planted 386. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate you showing love to my small channel. I understand there's a plethora of planty content out on the internet for you to enjoy, so anytime someone decides to stop by and hang out with me, I'm always super appreciative. And if you're returning, thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you so much. I know I say it in every video, but I can't say it enough. I appreciate this community more than you know, and chatting with you all down below in the comments each week. I just love it. This week's shout out is going to go to Living Life to the Fullest, Florida, and that is actually my neighbor Amy. She lives directly across the street from me, so when you open up our front door you can see her house immediately. And the beauty in that is she is an amazing outdoor grower. She grows such beautiful flowers, roses, wildflowers, pollinators, and in addition to that, in her backyard she has an amazing garden. And I chalk a lot of my outdoor growing experience up to Amy, and just it's so funny because we live in exactly the same conditions, but our growing experience couldn't be further from each other. She's just incredible at it. I feel like I struggle so much with it, but she's just a wonderful person, and she does have a channel. She does a lot of short form content, so if you're curious to see maybe what I'm talking about, you can check her out over there. I'll have her name on top of the screen. But yeah, so today guys, we're gonna get into this repot and Q&A. We've been talking about doing this Q&A for a while now, and you guys sent me in about 10 or 11 questions, so if you sent something in, I appreciate it, thank you. We will go over the questions as we're kind of doing these repots. I have just things everywhere, you guys. This one is quite the beast, so we're going to get into her first, and I think that'll give us some more room. I also host monthly plant swaps, and tomorrow is our first one of the season, so I think what I'm going to do is separate this. I'm going to show you guys how to do that in case you may not know, and maybe bring a couple of these to the swap tomorrow. So I have my bucket of dirt here. I have two things of dirt actually, just kind of started. We talked about the dirt in the last video, my preferred soil, and so I've just mixed it with a little bit of added perlite like we talked about. I have a bin over here for just like moss, so we'll just kind of take apart this moss and put it back in the bin. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so somebody is leaf blowing outside. It is Saturday today, and so a lot of the neighbors are out and about. So if you can hear that in the background, I'm sorry, nothing I can do about it. Hopefully my mic is doing its job and is cutting out the sound. But yeah, so first we're just gonna start with getting some of this moss out of the bucket here. I love to top off my anthuriums with moss, especially as they start to kind of outgrow their pot, because it helps to keep the aerial roots covered. And as long as the aerial roots are covered, usually it'll buy you a little bit of time. That's kind of what I've learned. So what surprises me about this one in particular, which this is a hybrid, this is dark Forgittii crossed Ace Crystal Red. What surprises me about this one is how she has so many in the pot. I find usually with Anthurium, they don't bush out. It's normally like big long petioles and just giant leaves, which is great. We love that. But it's so interesting to me when they sort of bush out like this one has. So I am looking forward to kind of getting in here and just separating some of these to give their leaves a little bit more room. I find that you can see how they're like brushing up against each other. There's definitely at least 4 in this pot. So we're going to see what we can do about that. Let's just go ahead and get her kind of established, and then we'll get into, oh my goodness, look at the roots coming right out of that pot. She was due for a repot a while ago, we'll say that. But like I said, I've been so busy now with the greenhouse and things like that, I just haven't had a ton of time. So, okay, we're gonna loosen up this pot. Hopefully she just kind of comes out and it's not the hardest thing in the world, but I have timed it out to where she's not putting out any new growth right now, so hopefully that will serve us. I may have to cut this pot, unfortunately, because she's really in it to win it. Oh my goodness. Yeah, she's really in there. It's my fault. We should have done this much sooner. There it goes. Okay. Look at these roots, guys. Look at this root ball. All that stuffed in this pot. Poor thing. Goodness me. Okay. Let's move that. I may use that for this Musa banana because Musa banana is also getting a pot up, and my Villanurum's getting a pot up, and my Papilolaminum, pending we have enough time. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do, I am going to get into the questions, but I feel like this is something that may be interesting to some of you, how to separate and deal with a situation like this. So I'm going to wait on the questions until we can kind of get this going a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just loosen up these roots a little bit. Normally, in a normal circumstance, I wouldn't fiddle with the roots too much. I would just put her in a significantly larger pot. However, we are going to be separating this plant. So I kind of want to be gentle when doing this. I hope you guys can see okay. I want to be gentle when doing this. So what I'll do is I'll kind of get up underneath and I'll get the dirt out. You guys see that? So we're just going up underneath and scooping out some of that dirt. And while doing that, we're already starting to loosen up those roots, the ones that were kind of curling around the pot. That's going to make it much easier for us to separate. So we can shake it, we can tap it, all the little tricks of the trade. And then what I'm going to do is, let me bring this closer to you. You guys see how many stems are in that pot? Can you guys see that? Hopefully you can. There's about there's probably 4 to 5 in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab onto one of the stems and just see if I can wiggle it loose, wiggle it away from the pack. Oftentimes, if you're gentle and you just do a wiggling motion, you will be able to get some separation. And really all we need is to get the first one separated. And from that point, it gets much easier. It's just getting the first couple apart. That's the hard part. The great thing, though, instead of chopping this up, the great thing is we're going to have some great, amazing roots to work with. So it's going to take this plant no time to rebound and come back. Whereas if we were to propagate it from these aerial roots down here, it would be a different story. So this one seems, and you may have to, you may have to do a little bit of snapping, unfortunately. You try not to, but it's just kind of how it goes. I try not to. I'm going to get my shears out. And I'm going to snip. There's a root right here that I think is kind of holding her in. She's got plenty of others to work with, so we're just going to try to, you can kind of see how she's separating. I just keep wiggling. Sometimes too, I'll go in and just start, once I can see where her roots are, I'll start manually separating them. Anthurium roots are incredibly sturdy, guys, so don't be too afraid to get in there. I mean, like I said, there's definitely going to be some cracking and creaking, and it's a little sad, but these girls are so rooted that, here we go. So there is our first one. See? Amazing roots. 3 nice little leaves. This will make a nice little starter plant for somebody. And like I said, they will bounce back. So next one will be this one, I think. Once you get that first one out, it goes pretty quickly from there. This is the only one today that we're going to be separating like this, so the rest will go much quicker. I need to get my Pappy potted up because she's very unhappy in the pot that she's in. Hoping that she'll give me some new growth if I get her out of the pot that she's in, because she's really remained stagnant. I mean, she's flowering right now, so that's a good sign that she's not like the most angry, but she's certainly not loving her life. So I kind of knew that when I put her in that pot. Let's loosen up a little bit more of this soil. I think they'll be much happier after this is all over because they'll have room to expand. The leaves will have room to expand without constantly hitting and grazing upon each other. And also, she runs out of... Look at that. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Okay. Look at that root system. So this is a beautiful 2-leaf little situation. And then we have a little pup here. This is number 5. This one's new because for the longest time she would put out, and she puts out the leaves pretty much at the same time. So I would get 4 emergents coming at once, which was so cool. This one actually has a leaf coming. So I'm a little bit, she'll probably abort that leaf. Crazy. And then we have this one here. So the last 2. So we got 5 plants out of that, which is amazing. I think I'll probably keep this one here and the pup and let the rest of them go tomorrow. So I will use this soil over again. It's not that old. I pot up my anthuriums pretty regularly. So yeah. I think we'll put her in here. As I said, these are going to be going to the swap tomorrow. I will let the people know that, you know, they're very well rooted, but recently separated. I could hold off and wait until the next swap, give them a month. And I may do that, but I feel like these are so well rooted that it really wouldn't be the end of the world. Okay. We're going to trim a few of these roots just so I can get her to fit in this pot a little bit better. So that's numero uno. I'll let the new owner kind of decide how they want to keep it. Okay, so the first question as we repot these was, how did I get into plants? Which is an excellent question. I got into plants, well, the funny thing is, I said this in my very first video ever, but the funny thing is I actually, when I was young, when I was just a teeny bopper, I think I was from the ages of like 13 to 18 or 19, so throughout high school, middle school, high school, this was when times were a little different. I actually worked in a plant nursery in my hometown, and the funny thing is I hated it. I absolutely hated it. But it was a way for me to earn money and, you know, buy school clothes and things like that that my parents couldn't afford to get me. And so for that opportunity, I really enjoyed it. However, it was very hot, and, you know, when you're a teenager, it's all about the social life and things like that. So I felt like I didn't get that social aspect that I really wanted, like working a retail job, things like that, you get that social aspect. So there were parts of it that I really hated, but there was also parts that I really enjoyed, and I did learn a lot by working out there. However, at the age of 18, I decided this is, you know, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something that deals with people, and so I started serving tables, my first serving job, but it consisted of, it was a 100-acre nursery, and they had a lot of like woody ornamentals. It was more like your landscape type plants, but they were a big operation, and they had huge semi trucks that we would pull orders for and we served North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, and it was quite the experience. It was a lot of hot days out in the summer, a lot of very cold days out in the winter months. But like I said, I learned a lot and I enjoyed it. You know, parts of it I really enjoyed. So yeah, that's that. And then I kind of went on a hiatus. I was looking for some backup plants or pots I keep behind there. I went on a hiatus when it comes to plants for a while, many years, until 2021, I'll say. And that's pretty much when I met John, and we bought a couple fruit trees together, and that kind of rekindled my love for plants. And really, it was the peach tree. It was our first peach tree that we bought. Just watching the whole process of it go into flower and then into, you know, the little peaches forming on the tree, and then watching that whole process unfold to eventually being able to eat those peaches right out of the backyard. I was just really amazed by the plant and how the tree, I should say, and how it did all that. Like, it's amazing. A little flower turns into an entire peach, and I don't know. It really just, that was really the start of it. And then we would go to like Lowe's and Home Depot to look for more, again, more like pollinator type plants. And then the tropicals kind of came in, you know. It was probably the calatheas that they put out every year that really, I was like, wow, what is that beautiful plant? And I realized quickly that calatheas are not my thing. I have a hard time with them. I should try one now that I'm a bit more experienced and see if I could keep it alive. But just things like that, like it just, I found them to be amazing. Watching new leaves come in was absolutely amazing to me. And then I started to do some research on plants. And then that really, once you start to research plants and you realize just how amazing they are and how they'll do anything to live, it's pretty inspiring, I found anyways. And yeah, it started this whole journey that we're in right now. So, okay guys, I went on a mission to find more pots. So I think we'll pot number 2 up in here. And that's going to be this guy. Is this the one I was keeping? Yeah, actually, I think I'm keeping him. And I was going to keep the pup. So that leaves me with these 2 over here. Okay. So yeah, plants absolutely amaze me. They are incredible. The things that I have seen them do in the time that I've experienced growing them is just like captivating. And to be honest with you, I've always loved animals. You know, for similar reasons. The way that they adapt and overcome situations, and the way that they survive off instinct, the way that animals will find a way to communicate with you even though they can't speak. Like, just, I don't know. I think it's just amazing. So that is kind of the short story of how I got into plants. Also, Amy across the street, you know, watching her with her garden was really inspiring to me. That's why I thought of her in today's shout out, is because she's always been so supportive of me, like, you know, getting into plants and things like that, and having, like, I guess a buddy that she could hang out with in the plant world. So yeah, just watching her in her garden and how amazing her garden would look, how peaceful it seemed, and just the whole bit, how you can go out and harvest your own food. And you know, I learned a lot through 2020 and what happened in 2020 that I wanted to be more self-sufficient. I wanted to at least know the basics of growing my own food. And, you know, because those were really scary times. And, you know, it just goes to show how much we rely on everything being provided to us. So I wanted to at least understand how all of that works, you know. I had never even seen what a, like, cucumber plant looked like, you know. So just interesting things like that, guys, honestly. All right, so the next question, what a mess I'm making. Thank God for a vacuum. I actually cleaned our vacuums yesterday. Cleaned them all out because they get really gnarly with all of the dirt that I suck up through them. So I cleaned the filters and all the things. Oh my goodness, look at this one. The next question is, why planted 386? Like, what's the meaning behind my Planted name. So after I started getting into plants, I started buying a lot of plants. I started going to, you guys, the first year, I would say the first year and a half to 2 years of my plant addiction, we'll call it, was just wild, the amount of plants that I was bringing in. And that's something I'll say, if you're just getting into plants, maybe don't add so many at one time because I did that, and while it was exhilarating in all the things, like, you still have to be realistic in the sense that they are living things. You have to be able to have the time to take care of them, which I never struggled too much with having the time to take care of them. But just, they're all different in their own ways, their care requirements and things like that. So maybe take it a little bit slower. For example, I bought a ton of alocasias, and honestly, I could have just purchased one alocasia and taken the time to try growing it before realizing that alocasia and I just don't get along. And that would have saved me a ton of money, that in itself. But you know, you just, the hype is real, and you just really start to get into it, and it's like, oh my gosh, you know, I just want to grow them all. I want to collect them all, and they're so beautiful. And anyway, so I went hard fast, and basically I decided I wanted to document the process, and it started really with my Instagram. I made up this little Instagram account. Ooh, I have just the right amount of pots, thank goodness. I made up my Instagram account, and in doing so, I was trying to think of, like, what's my name gonna be? And so I came up with Planted 386, and here is why. So Planted is actually an acronym that I came up with for plants, so for how I view plants. And so basically, it's passionately living amongst nature's treasures every day, so that's Planted. And then the 386 is actually my area code. So yeah, that's the story behind Planted 386. I suppose it's not as exciting as maybe you may have thought or whatever, or there's some deep meaning, but I did come up with the Planted acronym. I think I was just sitting on the couch, and I was trying to think of, like, what plants mean to me, you know, and how I feel about them, and trying to come up with an acronym for that. And so I came up with passionately living amongst nature's treasures every day. And so that's Planted. And if you go to my Instagram, actually, I have it listed on my Instagram just under the handle in my, like, bio or whatever. It's how I have it typed out. That's also why there's a dot in between the P, the L, the A, the N, the T, the E, the D. Anyway, what's the next question, guys? Let me look at my cheat sheet here. Oh, this was a sweet question. Okay, we're gonna need a bigger pot for you, aren't we? You're gonna go in here. No. Was that how that was gonna go? No. Where did the pot go that I had in there? I had the perfect pot for to go in that cash bow. You know what? We'll put Mr. Musa in something else, and I'll put him in here, back in his original pot. I'd really rather do something larger, but I think I'm just going to trim the roots down a little bit and go from there. Okay, how did John and I meet? That is a sweet question. Thank you for asking. So John and I actually were coming up on our 4-year anniversary, which is literally the 15th. So like right around the corner. April 15th, 2021, we met. Yeah, so it's a sweet story, I'll tell you that. It's kind of magical, actually. I'll say this. I'll say I had recently gotten out of a relationship that served me very poorly. We'll say that. And if I'm being honest, I really wasn't in the mindset to meet John. Like, I wasn't in the headspace to date again, or like I wasn't thinking about dating at the time that I met John. But so where my hometown is, we often come to his hometown, which is about 60 miles, to like get away. So where he's from, it's on the coast, it's on the water. So, and where I'm from, it's very inland. So anytime where I'm from, you want to get away, you go to where he's from. That's just kind of the way that it works here. And so my girlfriend and I, good friend of mine, my longest friend ever, I was going through it or whatever. I just was not in a good headspace. And she was like, girl, I took some days off from work. And I was like, girl, I've got some days off from work. And she was like, let's go to where I'm from, or where I live now. And I was like, I don't know. Like, you know, I just was like, honestly, I just wanted to stay home and like wallow. Not necessarily wallow, but like I was just tired, guys. Like, you know, when you go through like a really bad situation and honestly, my mind, my body, and my soul was just exhausted. And this was like the first, I went through all of that without taking any time off from my job. I, at the time, I was a manager for Ulta Beauty, and you know, it's a demanding job. It's retail. It's dealing with people, the public. You have employees to deal with. I shouldn't say deal with, but you know, to manage. And in addition to that, you know, my personal life was just kind of like all over the place. So I was just mind, body, and soul exhausted. And honestly, it was the first 4 days that I was going to take off since all that had happened. And I honestly just wanted to sleep. I wanted to just relax and like let my body recharge. But she wouldn't have any of that. As we were sitting there, she booked the room. She booked us a room and she was like, girl, we're going. You're driving, pick me up. I've already booked the room. And I was like, oh, okay, it's like that. Perfect. So, and it was for the next day. So this was on a Wednesday that I stopped over to her house and we were talking. And then on Thursday, I picked her up. And like I said, it's only about 60 miles. So we drove over here and checked into our hotel room. We had an amazing time on the beach, just kind of like relaxing, chilling, hanging out, catching up. And that night, we had gone to lunch at this little spot right on the beach. It's one of the coolest little spots around here. And we had gone to lunch there and we really enjoyed it. Like the food was great, the vibe was great. They always have like live music and it sits right on the beach. And our hotel was right next door, like you could walk. So we had lunch and we went back down to the beach and we hung out for a little bit. And then it got time for us to like go up to the room and like take a shower and figure out what we were going to do for dinner. And so we had such a good time at this place. We were like, you know what, we can just walk to the spot. Like, let's just go back and have dinner there because I'm sure they'll have music. Sure, it'll be a vibe, whatever. So we go back to this little spot and sure enough, they had live music. It was poppin'. And there was no room. Like lunch and dinner was such a different atmosphere. At lunchtime, there was seats everywhere, but at dinner time, the place was packed. And so there was only a couple seats left at the bar and in the entire house. Like there was just 2 seats left at the bar. And it happened to be next to John. So he happened to be there having dinner. He had just gotten done, like he likes to ice skate, play like ice hockey and things like that. So there's a rink over here and he had just gotten done with that. And he was like, I guess he just came in to have a bite to eat. And he says to this day that like, and I know because I've been with him, you know, for 4 years now, like it's not a place that you just, as a local, you just go to all the time. It's more of like a touristy spot, and he had planned on going somewhere else for dinner that night, but he turned around and he ended up going to the spot and like last minute. So he was like, he had already ordered his food and everything. And we walked in and we were like ready to have a good time, you know, like we're tourists, we're there to like party or whatever. And he started to like, you know, chat with us or whatever. He's like, oh, you know, where are you girls from or whatever. And, you know, we started talking and actually my friend Amanda was the one that like sat next to him. I sat further away. And he started chatting with us and I just found him to be interesting, you know, enough to like want to chat more with him. So Amanda and I actually swapped seats and I ended up sitting in her seat right next to him and we started like having conversation and we just started to realize like how much we have in common and like it was really strange, you know, like I'm a pretty spiritual person and I really believe that, you know, he was put there, like we were put there at the same time on that day to like meet each other. I really believe that. And I guess you'd have to be a fly on the wall to like know the conversation that we had. And sometimes we say that we wish that we could be like flies on the wall and go back to that day because just the things that we have in common. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's kind of unexplainable. And so we swapped numbers that night and I went back to my hometown, and so this was on a Thursday that we met, and by Sunday he had come out to my hometown to, he booked a room, and we went out and I showed him my hometown, and the rest is history. Here we are 4 years later. So yeah, it's like one of those things where in my circumstance, it was kind of like I had sort of given up on the idea of love and being in a relationship and all of that. It just was kind of like whatever with it. And it's like just in that moment, that's when he came. So never give up on love, guys. Never give up on love. Okay, so we went and got some more dirt. We're gonna pot up the Villaniorum next, which I'm so proud of her. She's looking so good. That's her newest leaf, cutie patootie. Again, Anthuriums don't seem to love terracotta, so I'm gonna get her out of terracotta. That's kind of the same thing with my pappy that we're gonna repot. Same situation, she's in terracotta, not loving it. So that's that. All right, next question is favorite genus and why? Okay, well, I think that's pretty obvious. She's a year old. Oh my gosh. So my little Villaniorum, I got her 4/3 of 24. So yeah, she's a year old. She's been with me. Anthuriums, guys. Anthuriums are my absolute favorite genus of all time. I love them so much. They bring me so much joy. Everything about them is amazing, from their growth pattern to their beautiful leaves, the size of the leaves, just the venation, the breeding, just all of it. I just am obsessed with them. However, I will say I do love a good Hoya, and I do love a good like weirdo cacti succulent situation. So those are my favorite genuses, but if I had to just have one or pick one, it would be Anthuriums. And yeah, it's been that way for a while. I'm trying to, it was my crystallinum actually, my mama crystallinum that's now outside in the pergola. She's coming back, she's doing good. It was that Anthurium that really like brought it for me. I picked her up just because she was affordable. She wasn't expensive, and I really wanted to try Anthuriums. I was so afraid of them. And I felt like, well, I think I paid like $25 or maybe $30, something. It wasn't like crazy. It wasn't a crazy amount of money. And I was like, if I can keep this alive, then great. You hear like all these horror stories about Anthuriums, but in all honesty, the horror stories should be on alocasias. That's how I feel about it. Like if you can keep an alocasia alive, you're definitely going to be able to keep a Anthurium alive. I will die on that hill. Anyway, so I got her and I grew her, I put her in the cabinet because again, I heard like all these horror stories, and she did absolutely incredible in there, like amazing. And just watching her take off was like one of the coolest things, one of the coolest experiences growing Anthuriums was just watching her leaves start out so small and then unfurl into this massive, amazing thing. So yeah, for me, that was a big part of it. I just found it to be so rewarding and so cool. And once I realized that I could grow them without problem, it was on, you guys. It was on, and I was on the Anthurium hunt. I've learned a lot since then about what they like, what they don't like, and it's just been really a joy to grow them. And we're gonna put her in this blue pot. See this size up and pot? She is gonna love that. And I also think she's gonna like and appreciate not being in terracotta anymore. So I'm excited to see where this goes over the next few months. And so yeah, we're just gonna backfill. As you notice, I didn't mess with her roots too much. There's no need to do that if you're just sizing up the pot. You don't need to go in there and root around. She's also still unfurling that leaf here, so I don't want to mess with her too much. And she's starting to flower for me, which is exciting. She's still got some ways to go. This is a slower grower for me anyways, and I don't know if that's because I've had her in terracotta or if she's just a slower Anthurium to take off, but we will see getting her in this new pot if she grows a little faster. I would love to breed with her. That's a main reason why I got this specific Anthurium is because I love the growth pattern. It's a bit more of a crawling Anthurium. It stays a little bit lower to the ground. It doesn't have like the super long, huge petioles. And yeah, I thought maybe we could make some interesting hybrids with her. So that's kind of my goal with that. And I'm hoping that she grows a little bit faster. Try to keep the bulk of her leaves off the pot. I have noticed, and it could just be because of the terracotta, the leaves, when they touch the pot, sometimes get like grody and crusty and yucky. And that could again be just because terracotta is very porous and it you know, retains a lot of moisture. So that could be why. Okay. I guess I ran out of perlite. I thought I had some more perlite lying around, but I can't find it anywhere, so it is what it is. We're not gonna... I'm also getting low on my homemade pond mixture, so we're just gonna go with it on this one. I've not been watering as much either, so it might actually be better that I don't cut this with a bunch of stuff so that it holds onto the moisture a little bit more. When I initially pot up my Anthuriums, I don't top them with moss right away because there's really no need to. You're kind of burying those roots below the soil. So, but as she starts to grow and as those roots start to pop up and I see them above the soil line, I will top it with moss. Okay, she's done. We will put Great White on all of these and water them through, but I figured I'd wait till the end for that. She looks a lot better in that pot. I liked her in this little terracotta because I just love terracotta, but she didn't like it. Now, the next one is going to be the Pappy, and I think we have a perfect amount of soil in here to lay the Pappy in, but I'm going to have to get more soil to backfill. So let's get the Pappy down. I'm going to hang on to all of this dirt because I pot up my Anthurium so frequently that there's no reason to toss this. It's still good. We're going to use it. And then we'll get into the next question. Okay. All right, guys, last is our Pappy here. And I'm sure I can, like, these leaves are looking so crusty, dusty. I'm just going to cut this one off, sadly. Hate to do it, but it's out of control. It takes up a lot of space, so I'm going to take that off, and it doesn't even look good. It looks like we may have something coming, but I'm going to get her, like I said, out of the situation because this is her newest leaf, and it also doesn't look so hot. Can you guys see that? And I just think that we can do better. I have struggled with this plant, I will say. It has been, I've had her for over a year now, and while she's sized up amazingly, she was a recent import when I brought her home. She did great for me for a while, and then I think she caught something fungal living in the cabinet, so I ended up having to start her over entirely from scratch, which was not fun, but she did end up coming back for me. She put out a beautiful, huge new leaf, which was wonderful. And I knew better to put her in this pot. I just knew better, and I did it anyways because it was what I probably had at the time, and I should have just bought something for her instead of just using what I had, knowing that it wasn't going to be the best option, because she's just not really done much since then, and I feel like it's just been a downward struggle. So I'm hoping to not have to start her over entirely. That would be wonderful. If I could just get her out of here, that would be great. We're going to take a look at these roots. Oof. The roots look amazing, actually. I'll show you in just a second. I think she's just crowded in this pot, and Oof, the terracotta is sucking too much of the moisture. So she's got some really nice roots. Like these are healthy, really healthy. I don't see any rot. I don't see any dry rot or anything like that. I think she just needs more space. So we're gonna put her in here. Get her away from that. Okay, we're gonna put her in here. I think she's gonna reward me for this. So yes, we're gonna put her just like that. I'm gonna backfill in and we'll get on to the next question. So the next question is, how have I been? Thank you for asking. I've been good, you guys. I've been good. I've just been super busy. Just trying to manage all the things going on right now. Spring is the busiest time of year for me anyways, when it comes to what I do for a living and just with plants in general. Spring is the time, you know, where you're repotting everything, you're getting everything set up for the year. Just keeping up with our back area where the pergola is. I mean, that took a whole weekend in itself just to like get rid of the leaves, you know, acclimating to working at the greenhouse 2 days a week and doing my other jobs. So I've just been busy, but I would rather be busy if I'm being honest, because busy means money's coming in and, you know, you're not worrying as much and things like that. So yeah. I've been really good, really, really good. I love working at the greenhouse. That's been such a good thing for my soul. I've learned so much already just being out there for the short time that I've been out there. I now know how to ship plants, which I was so terrified to ship plants. And I know a couple of you guys have mentioned doing some trades. Whereas like before I was down to do the trade, but I was also so terrified to do it because I know I have to ship the things to you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's gonna, like, what if I don't do it right and it doesn't make it okay and things like that. So now that I have that under my belt, I feel much more confident with that. And I just really enjoy being out there. It's so peaceful. I have a couple projects that I'm working on, like, you know, I'm kind of taking care of our Anthuriums and getting those ready to be sold and potted up and organized. And also like for breeding, I'm excited to be able to breed some of them. So that's exciting. Yeah, just trudging along, you know, but everything's been good. Everything's been really good. Let me get more dirt. Actually, I realized that I could use up this dirt in here. So we're going to use it. I think that might be enough actually too. Maybe. I may have to go get a little bit more, but this should be enough. Next question is favorite planty creators. So I have pretty much, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I started off like I think most of us do, watching like your bigger creators because that's just what YouTube recommends to you. So I started off watching the Jungle Haven and I still absolutely adore Claire. I love Claire so much. I will never stop watching Claire, but I feel like I've stopped watching her as much as I used to. And I have a couple reasons for that. But in addition to Claire, I started watching Good Growing. I started watching, you know, Alice and Charmaine. You don't, what is it? You Don't Even Grow Here and Unplanned Plant Parenthood. I have a hard time saying that. So, and I still on the occasion will watch them. But I have to be honest with you guys. They've created such a following for themselves that a big reason why I love Planty YouTube is chatting with people, like getting to know creators, chatting with people, making friends, and I feel like they have such large platforms now that it is pretty much impossible for them to like engage with their followers. So I have decided and are just resorted to following smaller creators that you can actually engage with and create a relationship with. And there's just something about supporting a smaller channel also. And I think it's because I've been there now. I am there now where I am a small creator. You're just trying to make it out here. You're just trying to get your name out there. And so any little bit of support I get, I'm super grateful for. And I like to reciprocate that. And I only have so much time in the day to do so. So for me, I really enjoy supporting the smaller channels. So the channels that I really love and have been watching the most is So Effie from Monef's Jungle, I love her channel. She does amazing editing. She always looks so beautiful in her videos, like her fashion, her attire, like just everything. Her house is beautiful. It looks so well kept and everything. Natasha from Planted in Platinum. I love her. She's amazing. She's into Anthurium. She's into a lot of things, but she does love her Anthurium. So, you know, we dive on that. And she is from Canada, which I find very interesting. I feel like a lot of the people that I love are like from up north or Canada, whatever. Like I would love to be able to trade with Natasha, but I don't know how that works, being as though she's in Canada. Who else? Oh, there's my tag. I did top this one with moss, guys, just because I didn't want to go back out for more soil, and I didn't really need that much more, so I think it'll be fine. Who else did I have listed here? Oh, Sprouts with Joy. She's one that I found in the beginning, and I still love and watch. I just love Joy. Everything about Joy. I love her like aesthetic, the way that she pots her plants up, the way that she loves terracotta like I do, like her styling. Just stuff like that. She's so sweet. She's so kind. I adore her. I feel like all of these creators deserve more than what they're getting, and I would love to see them get like more support. Sherry's Leaves is another one that I love and adore, and she's huge into anthuriums, and so we get along on that regard. And that's just to name a few. You know, those are like my tops. Like I said, time has been a little harder to come by, so I'm not watching as much planty YouTube, but when I have time, when I'm doing plant chores and I'm not filming, I am watching more than likely one of them. Also, Amy from Perky Plants. I love her so much too. She is amazing. I'm probably forgetting a couple of the others that I love, but those are just to rattle off a few. Next question, when is my birthday? I am a September baby, so my birthday is September 7th, and yeah, I'm a Virgo. Very Virgo characteristics, analytical, nerdy, organized. Even though it doesn't look like it right now, I am very organized. Yeah, I'm a September girl, a fall baby. What do I do for work? So I do a lot of things for work, guys. I started out, like I said, so after I worked in the nursery, I went to serving, and I served tables and worked my way up into management. So I managed for restaurants for many years, and a couple of them, so Outback, I managed Outback for probably the most, well, Mimi's Cafe, which is no longer a thing. There's a few stores left, but that was my favorite place. Outback is another big chain that I managed. And then I decided that like restaurants and food, it's just like not my passion. I just don't care. Like I'm not driven by food. So to be a restaurant manager I liked managing, but I didn't like managing something that I wasn't passionate about. So I left restaurant management and I went into the beauty industry, which is really where my heart is. And I started managing for Lancome. I worked for Pandora for a little while, selling jewelry. And then I got my like break into Ulta. And so I managed Ulta for a while. I love Ulta to this day. It's a great company. And I stepped down from managing at Ulta to go to hair school. And that was in 2022, I believe. So I went to hair school, graduated the end of 2022, and I've done some hair. It's a lot harder to get started in the industry than you might think. So I'm kind of working on that, but in the interim, through hair school, I cleaned for a living, and so I'm still cleaning. I love cleaning. I'm a Virgo. And so that's kind of why things have been even extra busy, because cleaning usually picks up in the spring. So I've been doing a lot of cleaning jobs. I'm booked out through April for the most part. And at this time, I'm pretty booked up with just cleaning and the greenhouse, but I would love to get more into hair, and that is a focus of mine. I just, I don't know if I want to go back into the corporate world where it's like, punching a time clock, and I don't know, I like to set my own hours and my own price and things like that. So it's just a little bit challenging to get in to the salon atmosphere, just without like doing those things. So I may have to bite the bullet. Next question, hobbies outside of plants. Oh, I have a ton of hobbies outside of plants. I love making jewelry, for example. I made a bunch of earrings the other day. I think I'll be taking a few of them to the plant swap and just seeing if anybody's interested in them, but I love to make jewelry. I have a lot of hobbies, guys. I'm into a lot of things. Hair, makeup, fashion. I have a TikTok just for fashion also because I like to play dress up and throw cute outfits together, even though you guys mostly see me in leggings and a t-shirt. I've been trying to wear some jeans at least recently, but I do love fashion and I have like a ton of outfits. I have a huge wardrobe, shoes, collecting shoes, just I could go on and on about that. You gonna say hi today? My whole fam's here today. Oh, he's walking around in his underwear, or he would come on and say hi. And then my favorite thing about plants. Well, my favorite thing about plants is the resilience, I think, and just their growth pattern. I don't know. I think it is like Anthuriums. We talked about that earlier. Just to see this tiny little leaf pop out and then it expand over the course of a week into this beautiful, majestic thing. It's like, I could go on and on about my love for plants and why I love plants. They teach me a lot all the time. I feel like it's a very soothing hobby. It's a very relaxing hobby. It's kind of it's something you can do with other people, but it's also very much a solo hobby. So, you know, you can just get in there with your thoughts. You know, for me, I also love running, going back to hobbies, and running for me is a solo thing where I have time to process my thoughts and it allows me to do so. Well, plants has kind of replaced that. You know, when I'm working on plants, it's just me and the plant, you know, and learning about it. And I feel like every time you work with a plant, you're learning about how it grows, what it likes, what it doesn't like. And I've seen them do some really, really incredible things just to survive, you know, like maybe I've forgotten to water or I'm not caring for it the way that it likes, and it will literally do everything it can before passing on to live. And I just find that to be incredibly impactful. It's a beautiful message, and I think that it's something that we can all learn something from, you know. Plants have been around since the dawn of time, so they're doing things to live, and it's amazing how they've evolved, and I just love them. I could just sit here for days and admire the way that they grow, and I think there's something inspiring about that. But yeah, we've run out of questions, guys. I'm gonna water these things in. The thing is I don't think I have drip trays for everything, so I'm basically just going to add some great white to everything that I've potted up. I have to find, she can go back into her spot, but now I have to find a place for my Pappy because I don't think she's going to fit on the Vitstro shelf anymore. And yeah, I've got to get some things worked out over here, and the swap is tomorrow and I'm running out of time. So I think I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you guys have an amazing week and I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it's a little tight in here when we do these repots, but you guys seem to prefer being in the planty corner over any other place that I film, so we just kind of make it work. So it may look a little chaotic this time. There's stuff all over the floor. We got to vacuum, but anyways, I appreciate you so much being here. I will see you guys in the next one, which I think is going to be a little bit more greenhouse content just because it's been really easy for me to film like that, and maybe another vlog. They don't seem to perform as well as my like show and tells, but I really enjoy doing them. So I think we'll do another vlog and then it'll be time for April favorites. So stay tuned, guys. Have a good week and I'll see you soon. Bye.